What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house? I want waffle fries.
I just found it a little ironic that the guy hiding behind multiple obviously fake accounts is concerned about whether or not I'm faking the disorder that I'm officially diagnosed with. Make it make sense, y'all. Well, guys, this is it. Apparently, I'm racist and faking according to the guy who was in my life calling my friend the N-slur. So, I guess I'm racist and faking everyone. Oh well.
They say only 1 in 100 people actually have dissociative identity disorder. It's definitely one of the rarer mental health disorders globally, but spend just 30 minutes scrolling through TikTok and you'd swear the numbers have magically doubled. This is Divan Did, a bit of a tongue twister, but just another TikToker stepping into the spotlight with claims of having 40 alters, and honestly sharing some pretty stupid takes on DID. I mean, right off the bat, there are so many things about this person and his statements that just don't align with what the disorder really is. Like, would you really need therapy to connect with or remember things about your other alters, as this guy believes? TikTok filters could be used therapeutically. Well, why the hell are you wasting your money then? Just save it and treat your serious disorder with this platform instead. Right. Also, if you consult any professional, they will tell you the same thing, that DID is definitely uncommon, and there's really no debate about it. But according to Divan Did, the rarity of this disorder is just a misconception. These kinds of stupid 2 cents make you think about what's going on in the minds of some teenagers on the internet. We're watching a generation at this point fall into this brain rot, and if there's one thing that really doesn't add up, it's that mental health disorders aren't contagious. But wow, pretending to have them definitely is a social phenomenon that feels like some kind of internet pandemic at this stage. It really seems as if it's taken TikTok by storm, with no signs of it ever slowing down anytime soon. To break it down, every health community includes a mixture of people. Some aren't sure if they have the condition, some are accurately diagnosed or on their own. There are also some curious ones who want to learn more, and those who are misdiagnosed, and of course, some just flat out lie about having it. So where does Divan Did fit into all of this? Well, that's what we'll be going over in today's video.
So I also support self-diagnosis. We were self-diagnosed for a number of years before our professional diagnosis.
So Divan Did is a 24-year-old TikToker, and his audience is primarily made up of teenagers, many of whom are likely feeling confused about their own identities. What really gets me though is that he preaches that self-diagnosing is a good thing and that he fully supports it. Now, don't get me wrong, self-exploration can be valuable, but there's a fine line between trying to understand your symptoms and just jumping to conclusions based on TikTok's 5 signs trend or a simple Google search. It's easy to think that your symptoms point to DID, but what if they're really pointing to something else like BPD, bipolar disorder, or even the fact that you might just be a normal teenager? Believe me, we all go through things like this at that age. The number of people thrusting their first suspicion based on a 15-second video they saw is honestly absolutely concerning.
Yeah, we knew we had DID before we were diagnosed. We knew when we were 7.
Just to make things clear, Divan Did intentionally said he figured out that he has this disorder at the age of 7 because he supposedly saw symptoms from his father's phone. Yep, just 7 years old. Look, I'm just trying to be genuinely realistic here. At that age, understanding DID is like trying to explain quantum physics to a toddler. Here, sweetie, come and sit down while I explain to you what multiple identities is while you color in your Spider-Man comic book. Yeah, it doesn't even sound right out loud. It's honestly tough to grasp the complexity of this disorder without first reading a children's book. And I mean a thick one. I would assume he was in 1st or 2nd grade, probably still trying to figure out if the sky is blue or if he's just imagining things. So to say he even slightly had a grasp on this disorder, when, I mean, you guys have seen it at this point, the amount of videos I've made, and even I don't fully understand it or completely get it myself.
We did therapy for a while at 16, and then for a couple of months at 16 we did therapy, and then we started again when we were 20. Yes, I am.
Oh, and he also shared during his live stream that he got diagnosed at the age of 16. Meaning he spent nearly a decade in this self-diagnosis situation. I mean, are you kidding me? He says he remembers his childhood perfectly, but it's hard to take that at face value when you've been self-diagnosing for so long. If a person with DID has just begun to recognize their alters, they're unlikely to be familiar with most or all of them. It's also improbable that they will have effective communication or co-consciousness among their alters, nor will they experience complete cooperation from their system without the help of a professional. And when it comes to remembering trauma history, forget it. DID is basically designed to keep that stuff on lockdown, like a secret vault for all the messy bits of your past.
The most common one that I've heard is DID is just so rare. Not actually true, but that's the common misconception around it. And then there's always the talk of, well, DID stems from severe childhood trauma, and I'm like, yes, I'm vividly aware of that fact.
And what's really concerning is the effect this has on his audience. When someone treats self-diagnosing like it's a trendy accessory, it creates a harmful narrative that portrays mental health issues as glamorous or cool, when they're anything but. Sure, anyone might have faced disturbing experiences or trauma, but that doesn't mean everyone will end up with fragmented memories as a result. It just needs to be significant enough that the person can't cope with it. There are several factors at play, not just the trauma itself, and the trauma typically has to be ongoing and occur during early childhood, around the ages of 6 to 10. Yeah, there's no hard rule on the exact age, but you get the idea. And the child needs to be lacking other coping skills, meaning they're mainly dissociating. It's also important to note that if a child is neurodivergent, like having autism, ADHD, or a learning disability, they might actually have a lower threshold for distress. This means they can be more vulnerable to developing conditions like DID, as it unfortunately takes less for them to be traumatized. Now, when it comes to accepting this whole situation, some people take years to say, yep, I've got this, especially if a professional drops the diagnosis on them out of the blue. Others might stumble upon their system all on their own, although definitely not through self-diagnosing, and find it easier to accept once they talk with a therapist. But let's not sugarcoat it. Almost every system goes through some serious denial. It's not really linear. That's just a part of the disorder. No one is thrilled about being unwell. And apparently this guy thinks DID is common because he believes anyone can just slap that label on themselves. If that's the case, then I'm sure everyone could have DID. Why not? While it's honestly a relief to finally get a real diagnosis, it should come from a licensed therapist and not from some hasty online Simpsons checker. I mean, after years of feeling lost and clueless about what's going on with you, it's only natural to be glad when people want to take you seriously, right? It's really hard not to doubt when some random person suddenly claims their DID journey without understanding what the disorder really is. They might even act like it's the best thing that's ever happened to them, which is something that we strangely enough see far too common online with TikTokers these days. Meanwhile, others in the community are left feeling overshadowed, and let's be honest, the biggest motivator of all these fakers, a hefty dose of attention that they've been craving. Once again, Divan Did is spouting some downright ridiculous claims, saying he doesn't know when switching happens. I mean, yeah, sure, I'll give him that, because that is actually how DID works. But then he turns around and makes videos introducing his alters, so he's obviously lying. I think it's important to note as well, as I do see a lot of comments on these videos saying, how do I know this? How, you're not a professional? And absolutely, I'm not. But when stuff like this happens and it's just so blatantly obvious, do you really have to be a professional to call out someone's BS? I do talk to people that actually have the condition and I always ask for their advice. I never just outright make these videos. So I get the opinions from them and also licensed professionals and their opinions on some of these people. Like I said at the beginning, it's supposed to be so rare, but like everyone is seeing right now, you go on TikTok and it seems like everybody has this condition. Another argument on top of this as well is obviously, well, just leave them be, ignore them. But the thing is it really hurts the people that actually suffer with this, because then they get stigmatized around online as a joke, and this whole disorder doesn't even exist, making their lives utterly miserable. And that's why I find a lot of this so important to actually speak about. I feel like sometimes I'm the only one online calling this out, because it is ridiculous. And these people can't just go around doing this without being called out for it, in my opinion. But introducing your alters? Seriously? This whole switch on command bullshit is just driving me insane. Switching isn't some fun little game. It's very intense and involuntary, especially if someone harmful decides to switch into the body. This isn't all sunshine and rainbows like it's depicted online, having fun backstories for these alters. That's, again, not how this works at all. It's not as simple as, hey everyone, meet alter number 1, who has something to say, and then here's alter 99. They love Jaffa cakes. Isn't that so fun and quirky? Leave a like on today's video if you also like Jaffa cakes. It's just ridiculous. And honestly, how does that even make sense? Sure, switches can happen quickly, but you typically involuntarily trigger yourself to get there. So are there such things as positive triggers? Yes, but the real systems or people with DID use those positive triggers during stressful situations when one part can handle things better than another, and definitely not in the middle of shoots for your TikTok videos. It doesn't matter how stressful you think your job is if you have a TikTok account. I'm almost guaranteeing it's not that stressful. And here we go again, with more clips of him magically summoning his alters just to introduce them to his followers. It's amazing, right? It's like every single fake system on TikTok, Divan Did included, follows the same script. Either they're magically calling alters for some lip syncing fun, or they're all about those internal conversations. Then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, this alter needs to come forward and talk. In reality, alters should never have to come forward unless it's for protection. but to these people it's just a game.
Doesn't the filters on here help manage symptoms? Not so much manage symptoms. Using different filters can help alters express themselves in ways that they normally couldn't, because we do all share one face and one voice most of the time. So using those filters or those voice filters or those audios can help them express themselves in ways they normally couldn't, but it doesn't necessarily help manage symptoms outside of sometimes helping aid in communication between system members. So I guess yes, in certain extents they could be considered helpful in a therapeutic sense.
And suggesting TikTok filters are therapeutic is on a whole different level of craziness as well. Why even bother with therapy then at that point? Doctors or even processing trauma when you can just hop on TikTok and add filters and let your 5-year-old alter act up because hey, it's apparently so therapeutic. And the best part is, well, you're obviously going to save thousands of dollars on therapy and medication. What a life hack. Yeah, well, that's obviously not how that works. Look, I've been reading through your comments, and a lot of you share your very real struggles with DID. Every time I upload a new video here on my channel, it's kind of hard to imagine the time, effort, and money it takes to manage this disorder, let alone in reality. Then suddenly we see these phonies come along, treating it like some kind of fun or quirky game. I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for you. Honestly, can we just finally be done with this whole choose your alters trend in the community? Like, at this point, what even is this? An auction? Going once, going twice, sold to the highest bidder? They're obviously just romanticizing having alters that you can easily pick and choose. And yeah, I even made a video in the past talking about these TikTokers who were selling alters online, where people were buying it on a type of eBay website, which is ridiculous. The more research we put into these videos, the more baffled I am that anyone could believe this.
It's not generally how it works.
You know, if you are an influencer on any platform and happen to have this disorder, I can only imagine how careful you'd need to be about your public image. It makes total sense you'd want to foster a positive environment where you can raise awareness, encourage support, and share your personal experiences without jeopardizing the community you've built. After all, people look up to you, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. One thing that really stands out is just how easy it is to identify those who are just faking DID, as they often turn out to be the most problematic ones. For Divan Did, well, to be honest guys, I don't see anything noble in what he's doing. Instead of providing helpful information or being a good role model for his younger audience, he often engages in some pretty disturbing behavior. During his live streams, for instance, he frequently includes moments of him sniffing certain substances on camera. Like, why? Why the hell do you need to put that out there for everyone to see? If you have a serious addiction, then obviously get help and maybe choose to do that privately instead of involving others in watching you. That's seriously insane. I'm not trying to be perfect or a saint here, but what he's doing is definitely not the kind of content everyone should be promoting, especially to young, impressionable followers. As mentioned earlier, imitative DID is socially contagious, it seems. With all the misinformation floating around online, it's no wonder some people might actually think they have a mental illness or disability. And watching people like Divan Did make a joke out of a very serious disorder or give advice they clearly know nothing about, well, it's extremely frustrating if you actually take this stuff seriously, which most of us do. I know some of my older videos would just kind of make light and joke around lightheartedly about this stuff, and obviously I've now taken a much serious tone into this. I will always continue making videos like this, but I'm also going to mix up with some other content in the future as well, as I don't want to saturate my channel with content just like this all the time. So I got some very interesting content in the works that I think you guys will actually find extremely interesting. So with that all being said, please make sure to hit the bell button so you get notified when I release those. With that all being said, I hope you guys have had a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.